Welcome everyone to today's live stream, and good morning. Today we're going to look at the crypto and the forex market, and yes, the title is obviously a clickbait. We are not in the bull market, like not even close. But I think we're going to look at some of the some of the charts here, and not charts. Are we going to look at the price charts? And we're going to see if we do see any signs of a potential high time frame reversal, man. So yeah, welcome everyone. And before we go into the actual analysis, I want to thank Prime XBT for sponsoring this channel. And if you want to join an awesome exchange where you can trade crypto and the legacy markets on the same platform with the same account using your USDT to trade the forex market, which is a beautiful thing to do at this point when Bitcoin is using a massive range, you can go in the description below, sign up to Prime XBT and use the code LIBS42 to get up to a 7K deposit bonus. So we got Bitcoin right here. I want to start by looking at Bitcoin, and I want to try to answer the question: is the bull market still on? And it's a very simple question, and the answer is actually very simple. The answer is no. The bull market is not on. But it's interesting. We're definitely in an interesting scenario, right? So what we want to do is we want to go to, let's look at the Bitcoin chart here with fewer levels. We're going to be adding the slingshot indicator right here. Look at that. By the way, look at that. It's a beautiful long signal. That is such a beautiful long signal on Bitcoin. And I can't believe I didn't take that trade. I should have taken that trade. Actually, you know what? Let's break down this trade here because I think it's very interesting. And after that, we're going to go through some of the stuff we've discussed in the RLZ Trading room right here. Some of the setups that we've talked about. We're going to be looking at that as well. So let's break down this setup right here. This is on Bitcoin, and usually, the program students and some of the students in the RLZ Trading room probably knows that I very rarely look for longs unless price is above both the daily 20. So you can see right here that the blue dotted line right here, that's the daily 20 EMA, and then the gray dotted line here is the daily 50 EMA. And I very rarely look for longs unless price is above both of the daily moving averages. But sometimes you'll get a really good setup where the entry lines up with the 20 EMA and the profit target, the target lines up with the 50 EMA on the daily. And this is a perfect example of that. We have a few other examples as well of that. You can look at, let's say, a dot, right? So on dot here, exact same thing happened where you have a entry on the daily 20 EMA for a move up to the daily 50. I think it's the same on CRV as well. Yeah, so you have the day entry on the daily 20 and a move up to the daily 50. And the same thing happened on Bitcoin, right? It's an interesting thing to watch. Now, this obviously does not happen very often, but when it does, I think it's a valid reason to actually go long, even if price is below the daily 50 in this case. So imagine you have a long signal here, which obviously would they get it, we should have gotten a long signal on Bitcoin here somewhere. Well, there's a lot of signals here. Oh, never mind. Should be in there somewhere. So what you do is you get the signal, and this is how I would have done it, right? You get the signal. First thing you do, you add the fibs. You have from the low right here all the way up to the high. Now, in some instances, I might ignore the wick here and just go with that one, but it kind of makes sense to use that wick. So let's extend it to the right here, and you'll see that you have a 4-hour bullish engulfing candle inside the long RLZ right here, confluent with the stochastics. You got the daily 20, 4-hour 20, 4-hour 50. Everything kind of lines up here, right? Now it's not 100% perfect, but it definitely looks good. You can add a trend line here as well. You'll see that it kind of hits that trend line. Like what I like to do is I like to use a trend line area instead of trend lines, kind of extend it like that. I think it looks better, and it uses the same principle as adding horizontal levels. When you add a horizontal level, you want to look at that level as as if there's a buffer zone around the level, so you create a zone instead of a level. So that's also how I draw my trend lines. Instead of calling them trend lines, I call them trend line areas, and I draw them by using the parallel channel tool here in TradingView. So you can see here that it tests a trend line area ish. The trading room Discord is not free. I have some exciting announcement regarding the trading room and the website, so keep an eye on this channel and Twitter, and you get some. And also, you can sign up to the newsletter if you want more information on that one. We're launching something new and very exciting, so definitely check out the newsletter. I'm not sure if it's the right link in the newsletter because we've moved to Substack. So you have to go to rlztrading.substack.com. And if you sign up to that newsletter, it's free. You get all the updates about all the upcoming stuff. All right, so we have that 4-hour bullish engulfing candle, and as you can see right here, after that 4-hour bullish engulfing candle, so let's put a somewhat of a marker right here. That's where the 4-hour candle closed, and then you can see that the right after that candle close, which happened on 1700, so that's going to be right there. Right when that 4-hour candle closed, you see a move to the downside right there, and that is visible on the 4-hour here. And you see where that retest happens is almost on the 20 EMA on the 4-hour. Now the way I trade this is I want to get break and retest of the 50. So the way I would have traded this is probably to put a entry order right on the high of that wick, because it kind of makes sense. And then you add kind of see how you have a level right here. So I would probably put my entry orders now. It might not have gotten filled here, right? Now, according to TradingView here, this is like the perfect entry right here, but it might not have gotten filled, right? But this is just how I'm trading this setup, even if it gets filled or not. So we would have an entry right there. So TP1, TP2, TP3, TP4. And the interesting part here is that the daily 50 right here. So this would have been the perfect trade on Bitcoin. I'm not really sure why I never took this trade though. Maybe because it was a little bit later on Friday. I was probably having dinner or something like that. And when I'm with my family having dinner or something like that, I just don't care about trading. There's better times to trade. Spending time with the family is definitely a priority. So I would much rather miss a couple of trades than to kind of stress, leave dinner and run down to the office and calculate the position and enter orders. Like, it's just a lot of stress, right? So rather be a little bit less profitable and have a calmer, less stressful life. So that's probably why I decided not to take that trade. But this is a good example of the RLZ slingshot system agreeing with the indicator. And the beautiful thing with this indicator is, like, you get an alert and then you check the charts and you see if everything lines up. And if it lines up, you take the trade. I am like, when you guys test the indicator, you're gonna love it. It's so simple, but it's so effective, right? So let's try to look at Bitcoin from a high time frame perspective. Like, what needs to happen for this to really print a bullish market structure here, and what needs to happen for this shot here to be bullish, and for me to say that, well, it's highly likely that we are now out of the bear market. Well, it's you look at the daily and it's a very clear downtrend right here. So what needs to happen is we need to break this downtrend, and obviously everyone's focused on the macroeconomics right now with inflation and rising interest rates and all that sort of stuff. Speaking of inflation, we do have a news event coming up later today. Where do I have that one? It's got so many tabs up here. I don't even know which one it is. It's going to be this one. So at 1500 my time, we will have the Federal Reserve Chairman Powell's have his speech. That is 1400 UTC. So in 4 hours, he's going to have going to speak. Now, if you look at daily FX, it says that it's a medium impact news event. Now, obviously, it's not a medium impact news event in these conditions. It's a high impact news event for sure. Now, if you go to financial juice, I'm pretty sure that it is marked as a it's blue. I don't know what that means, but it's definitely high impact news event. So that is something we have to. It's actually not that one. Where is it? It's not even here. Yeah, right here. So 1500 is red, right? Which means on financial use is probably a little bit more updated. I expect that daily FX might have these colors still here from before the current situation that we're in. So that's the major news event to check. And of course, we have backup Japan, which happens in about 30 minutes, which is yeah, I'm not in any JPY pairs, so it doesn't really matter. Now let's look at Bitcoin. What needs to happen? Well, we need to see, for example, we need to see the Powell speech be. I'm expecting him to go out and say like the market shouldn't be rallying. The more the market rallies, the more pain we're going to see. Like we have to, the better the economy goes, we have to increase the rate hikes. So he's probably going to go something like that, right? But he might say something unexpected. He's going to say like, oh, I think the job is getting close to done here. We might in the near term future see interest rates go down, stuff like that. Like if he speaks in terms of that, I think it's going to be very, very bullish for the market. And looking at Bitcoin right here, we are forming a nice support area, right? But really, the level that needs to get reclaimed, in my opinion, for a real strong indication of a bull market is, first we have this, which is in my opinion, a minor resistance area, the area between around 18k and 19k. That's actually a minor resistance area. That's the first thing we have to reclaim. Now, looking at price action, it's not really a minor resistance area, but on the whole, it's definitely a minor resistance area. If you go to the weekly, like you'll have to kind of break this whole trend right here, and you kind of have to reclaim this level right here, the 18.19, and then you have to see something like this. And I believe unless we break above 25k, we're not really going to see any sort of rallies, right? This is, in my opinion, the area that needs to get reclaimed. And even if we do reclaim that level, it's highly likely that we go up and test like 35k as resistance. So I do actually think that we might see something like this, right? Reclaim 17, reclaim this area right here, maybe perhaps a bounce at around the 18 to 19k, right? And a move higher. But that means very little. But I do expect that people will be extremely bullish once that 20k region get reclaimed. But it means very little to price action. It's really the 25, 20, 23, 24k area that needs to get reclaimed for Bitcoin to really show us some high time frame bullish price action. So we're a long way from Bitcoin printing any sort of bullish market structure, unfortunately. But that doesn't matter for us, as we are, we're swing traders and we're looking for entries on the 4 hours. So it doesn't matter. We're going to be trading. We're going to be trading all the assets and all the pairs, regardless of what situation we are in. If we're in the bear market and we find it short, we're going to short it, right? No, it doesn't really matter. Now let's go through some questions here. So I want to look at a couple of questions we have here in the trading room. So we've talked about nat gas, so let's actually cover that one, right? So we talked about nat gas, and I'm going to cover that trade right here because we did have a short signal. Right here. Now that's a decent short signal, and if you look at this trend, it's looking pretty good. First, we have to kind of also take into consideration the fact that we're hitting a major high time frame support area right here. So obviously we have to take that into consideration. So we're actually shorting a high time frame support area, which obviously is not the best thing to do. And if you look at the weekly, we've already had a major drop to the downside right here. So for this to really be worth it, we need to have a good risk to reward, right? We really need to have a good risk to reward for this trade to be worth it, because we're shorting high time frame support. Now, this would be the setup, right? Now, of course, if you ignore the weekly open and you would have gotten this alert right here, now, risky but good entry. So right on that candle close. Now, even with that good entry, it's only going to be a 2R on average. Like TP1 1.2 on average is going to be a 2R. Now, the fact that we are shorting high time frame support, I would probably want to have an average R of a trade like this at least above 2, maybe 3, which is just not going to happen. So I think this trade is gone. The entry on this trade is gone, and I don't think it's going to be any. The risk to reward is just not worth it on natural gas. I'm just going to forget about this one. Another question we had was the Euro AUD trade. So the question goes like this from Crypto Khalifa. With the Euro AUD trade, I have a question. I mostly understand the reason for entering, with the confirmation being the bearish engulfing candle. Price moved as desired, but has obviously retraced. At what point do you make the decision that the reason to be in the trade is no longer valid? What kind of things would you consider? Right. So when I developed this system, so you got to understand, like, the development of the RLZ slingshot system is based on trial and error. Basically, I've used the backtesting template. I've tested different indicators to see which of the indicators work best as entry triggers, and which of the entry triggers and indicators and all that works best together. Like, where do we have the best confidence? And I focused a lot of finding the right type of entry triggers, which is 4-hour bearish engulfing candle, or that rounded price action in the right area with everything else aligning. Now, when it comes to trade management, because basically this question is about trade management, right? It's about when do we have reason to exit the trade, and when is it no longer valid? Now, that is actually something where I'm still thinking about how to optimize this. And the reason why I'm thinking about this now is because of this trade, right? Because the whole idea is based on this. When TP1 is hit, we move stops to entry. And the next time we move the stop loss is going to be on the next swing point. And that's basically it. That's everything we have to care about when it comes to trade management. However, there are certain scenarios where I've decided to exit the trade early. If, for example, let's say Euro AUD, let's say Euro AD got filled right here, then it moves down like this and it starts moving like this, right, and back up. Now, maybe I would actually have exited this trade here because we missed TP1, right? We missed TP1, and it's now kind of creating a higher low and moving higher. So maybe in that case, I would say, you know what? This was the entry. I expected price to move lower and break this low. That didn't happen. Now I'm going to exit this trade, maybe for a small loss or a small win. Probably a small win around this area, because the general idea did not work out. If you look at the fact that we did hit TP1, we moved stops to entry, and now I'm now stopped out of the trade. So this was a I think, a 0.3R winner. Now that's very frustrating because if you look at this low right here, this is in a 2R profit. It's very frustrating to see your open P&L go from 2R in profit all the way down to 0.3%. But you have to understand that what I'm doing here is I'm focusing on one individual trade. What you have to do is you have to ask yourself, how often does this happen? Now, how often does TP1 get hit and then stopped out at entry? And maybe price starts moving like this, and it looks highly likely that we're going to, get a new setup on Euro AD, which is unfortunate because we got stopped out on the current one, but it doesn't matter. We're focusing on one individual trade, and we're in a business where we have to focus on the whole. We have to zoom out, and we have to focus on many trades in a row. So focusing on one trade is the wrong way of doing it. What you have to do is you have to follow the process, right? Follow the process of the system, and then when you have maybe 10 or 20 trades like this one, you compare the profitability of this one compared to the whole, and then you look at what would have been the profitability if I exit all the trades at TP1. If you're more profitable exiting everything at TP1, it's time to switch the take profit strategy. But then you look at trades like AUD CHF. Now AUD CHF moved up all the way and hit TP3. Now 75% of this position is now closed. TP1 stops is at entry, not stopped out of this one, but stops is at entry. Now it's very frustrating to seeing a trade go from here all the way back down here and getting stopped out. But it's the trade where that doesn't happen. It's the trades where you get something like this. Those are the trades which will pay for trades like Euro AD. Right? So it's all about trading is all about having many small losers and many small winners with the occasional big winner. Now, if you look at gold is a good example, right? Because gold might break out here. And if it breaks out, TP3, TP4, and that's it. And this will be now a 2.2R trade. If I would have exited TP1, this would only have been a 1R trade. If I exit at current prices, it is going to be like 1.5, 1.75 or something like that instead of a 2.2. And same thing goes for AUD CHF. If I exited this one at TP, it would only have been a 1.5-ish R trade instead of a 2.5 or something like that, right? So I do understand that the question comes from watching Euro AD. And I'm watching this and I got an alert that stop loss was hit. And I'm thinking the same thing, when is it invalidated? Yeah, I'm gonna check Ocean USD as well. When is it invalidated? Well, it's invalidated when the trend is broken. And as you can see right here on Euro AD, this would invalidate this trade. That would kind of invalidate this trend. So in this case, I'm glad we're out here. I'm glad we're out here because looking at this, it's still a downtrend, but it could also be a double bottom. So it's all about finding a strategy that works decently. And then with time, you're going to optimize that. Remember, in the beginning, well, not the beginning, 3 months ago, I didn't have TP3 here. I didn't have a TP3 here. So instead of exiting 25% here, I had 50% at TP, where I now had TP4. So I only had 3 take profit targets, and I had 50% here instead. Now, the reason why I switched from 50 here to 25 and 25, I divided that 50% TP up in 2 orders. The reason for doing that was basically I looked at my journal and I added a statistic to track which of the TP got hit. And I actually saw that the last TP didn't get hit very often, but the minus 0.382 actually did get hit much more often than last TP. So I thought, you know what? I'm missing out on some profits here. So I added a TP here, and now I'm making slightly more profit, and it's also much easier to divide up the position. I mean, it's much easier to divide up a position in 4 equal positions than 2 equal positions and one which is the double. So it's making it a little bit simpler and easier at the same time. Um, so yeah, that's Euro 80. I'm stopped out on that one for a 0.3R win. This is a fairly good trade. We're still in this one with a 25% of the position still open. I will most likely take a new trade and a new entry on Euro 80 CHF if it lets us, and perhaps even one on Euro 80 as well. Gold is looking good. I really like gold. Now, if gold hits TP3, I will move stop loss to right below the weekly open right here, and that would secure this trade as a pretty profitable one. Now, look at how patient and disciplined you have to be when managing swing trades like this one right here, because you have a really good entry. You're not just going to exit this one on, on emotions. You have to be disciplined and actually wait for price action to tell you that it's ready to move higher, and that's where you can kind of secure the position. Let's look at Ocean. This is a good one. This is a really good one. So first of all, when you're looking at something like that, there's a lot of wicks, a lot of big wicks. Looks like it's I don't know what the volume is on this one on Binance or wherever you are trading it. Is it available on Prime XBT? I don't think so. It doesn't matter though. All right, so now this is a good example of where I'm sorry, man. I cannot speak Arabic. All right, so this is a good example of where you kind of look at where you want to place the fib on this trade. So what I'm seeing here on the 4-hour is one obvious move right here, but then you have smaller moves within this bigger move. If you look at the 1-hour, you have a very good trend here on the 1-hour as well. Okay, so a few things I have to cover here. There's a couple of good moves here on the 1-hour which you can put a fib on, like this one here. I would say probably this, something like this. Roughly this. I don't know, like what I don't like about this one is, it has completely broken the daily, the 1-hour trend right here. So you have a very clear trend here, and this is also something important. I talk a lot about the behavior of the trend, and obviously the behavior of the trend is intact here. Now, this is one specific behavior of the trend, and that is, specifically being above the daily, above the 1-hour 50 EMA, as you can see right here, and it's kind of bouncing on the cloud between the moving averages right here. And here you have a breakdown, and not only do you have a breakdown, but you have a breakdown, and you're now using the weekly open. So here is the weekly open, you break down, and you now add the weekly open as resistance. So if you add a fib from that high of that wick down here, you also see that it hits the 50. So on the 1-hour, there's actually a potential short setup lining up. So for a long setup on the 4-hour, and I think we can on the 4-hour use this low here and that high as our fib placement. So for a long to be possible on the 4-hour, you first need to see the 1-hour short setup get invalidated, and I think it's pretty clear what we're watching right here. I want to see a like this 4-hour candle closing above the 50, and then we want to look at something like this. So this would be the trade on Ocean, right? Which is pretty good, pretty good. 2.3 hour trade on average. Now that's the swing trade. For this swing trade to be valid, we need to see an invalidation of this 1-hour short trade, and that probably comes if we have a breakout and a bounce here on the 1-hour. So that's what I will be looking at. So I want to see a break and retest of the weekly open confluent with that 50% of the bullish fib. So break and retest of the 50% and a like a rounded retest on the 1 hour with a bounce on the 1 hour to kind of show us that we're getting some potential move to the upside here. So that's what I would be looking at on Ocean. Right, let's continue with the well, actually, with Bitcoin moving here, we might want to look at some altcoins. I think for most altcoins, you know what? Like my recommendation here is just not to trade today. I know it's like super boring, but we have that Powell speech coming up, and all like you see this all the time, right? You have some really nice moves in the altcoin market, and it goes on for like if you start counting from down here, we've been I mean it's been 10, 11, around 10 days of very nice bullish price action on altcoins. And you're seeing people, they start talking about altcoins, which altcoins to long, which altcoins. Like, usually, in my experience, this is the time when you get a reversal, right? And if you look at the daily here for algo, for example, you have, let's remove everything here. So you'll see that on algo, it's quite clearly still a very bearish market structure and coming up and hitting that resistance area right here. So this is a great area for altcoins to retrace. And the fact that we do have the speech from Powell at resistance tells me everything I need to know. We should probably not look for longs in this area. And if you go back to Bitcoin, you'll see that, I posted about Bitcoin here a while ago and said, I remember on Twitter I posted about this and said, if we reclaim the 16.8k area, which is the range EQ area, I do expect a move up towards the range EQ area. But this level right here, this 17.4k region, is most likely going to be used as heavy resistance, right? And now we're right at that resistance area with Powell speaking in 4 hours. So is it worth taking a swing trade when there's a major news event in 4 hours? Like 4 hours, that's just one 4-hour candle. It's absolutely not worth it. So what I would do is wait for that speech to be done and then try to look for a potential retest and reclaim of the 17.4k area. So that would obviously look something like this, where you have this trend is continuing like this, right? And you want to see a break above that level right here, a retest of that level, and then a move up to the 18k region. So that's what I'm looking at on Bitcoin. And because of the fact that I'm looking at that on Bitcoin, it's pretty much the same on altcoins. Now the problem with altcoins, you know what? Let's add the daily 50 and the daily 20 as well. Yeah, so we're actually in a Bitcoin is actually reclaiming the daily 50. I like the fact that it had a bounce around the daily 50 in the weekly open. That's really good. So Bitcoin is now actually above the daily 20 and the daily 50, which looks really good for some longs. So that's what I'm watching. I'm gonna putting an alert right here. I'm gonna say, breakout. So whenever we get that alert, I'll yeah, I'll take a look at that. Right, what else do we have? We have, I think Mo said something about something. And New Zealand dollar versus CHF. Let's look at that one. Okay, so I do get what... It's fairly interesting here. We got the daily 20, daily 50 right here. Cloud. Yeah, this. So let's first look at the weekly. What do we have in the weekly? So definitely a very bearish market structure. High time frame resistance. So looking at the weekly, this is like a really good short. It's a really good short, right? Really good short on the weekly. Now let's go to the daily. if we can manage to have our TP1 around that horizontal level, that would be good, right? So still on the daily, there's definitely some possibility of going up and hitting that white horizontal level right here. So let's go to the 4-hour. Yeah, and that would actually be TP1 right there. Now, like you mentioned as well, the weekly open here is in a pretty bad area. But let's add the fibs here to see if we can get anything interesting done here. All right, so this is complicated. This is complicated. It's also, you could also argue that this is a range. So the entry would be made on the range EQ. So it's basically a move, a break and retest of the range EQ from move up to the range high area, which is interesting. Definitely interesting. We're gonna keep our eyes on this one. The 4-hour candle will close right when we have that Powell speech. So the question is, if we're gonna take this trade, and I like it, I like the fact that it's kind of bouncing on both the daily moving averages right here. So if we're gonna take this trade, I think we have to ignore the weekly open, right? But we have like a 4-hour bullish engulfing candle that needs to be TP1, which it's a good trade. And right now you're getting that potential long signal. You see right here that long signal just popped up on the indicator. So if we do get a long signal on this one, it's tempting. It's tempting. But we have to ask ourselves, is it worth ignoring the weekly open? So if we're going to take a trade on NCD CHF, we have to ignore the weekly open, but we could enter this. We could enter this. And if there is a clear, if the weekly open is being used as very clear resistance, you might exit this for a smaller loss at around break even. That's what I'm thinking. But this candle close is going to close right when Powell is speaking as well, so there might be increased volatility. But let's keep our eyes on this one. I'm going to put an alert right here. I know we can't predict what crypto is going to do, but you've been through a bear market before. How do you think price will develop back into a bull market? How did it go last time? Do you remember? All right, so yeah, I do remember. Like in so the last bull market, I don't think, like, the sentiment is, in my opinion, better than the last bull market, even with FTX and everything. Like, the difference with this bull market is that back in 2018 and 17, that bull market, I think people still had faith in crypto, right? They still understood the potential of crypto. But now in this bull market, it's like a lot of people, just like me included, I think the trust is just gone. It's just, crypto is just, for me at least, like I do invest in Bitcoin. I like Bitcoin a lot long term, but the whole crypto ecosystem is just complete bullshit, in my opinion, at this point in time. If you look at you look at FTX and all the bullshit around that, like, it's an absolute shitstorm. Now, we didn't really have it like that in the same way in 2018, but the difference between this bull market and the last bull market is, in 2018, it was just complete desert, right? Everyone just disappeared, and it was an incredibly boring time, right? And we went sideways for forever, right? And a lot of people had, valid concerns that Bitcoin was just going away and crypto was just going away. And I'm not really feeling that massive capitulation like we had back then. So that's actually something that I kind of expect us to see. But if inflation is peaking and Powell comes out and says something, positive, there is definitely a possibility that the bull market is still on, and we're going to be, continuing to see a bull market, probably some rallies, throughout Q2, 3, and 4 of this year. But I think it's highly unlikely. With the way the world economy is going, I think we're in for more downside price action, and we kind of need to have some capitulation on a big scale where, man, like we did. I don't know, it's so hard to predict, but I do know this, that we do need to see better bullish market structure for Bitcoin. And the first area that we need to need to reclaim is the 18K area. When we do reclaim that 18K area, the possibility of getting that bull market back on is much more likely, but it's that 24, 25 area that needs to be reclaimed for the bull market to really be on. Now, if you go back to 2018, I mean, if you look at the difference between this bear market, basically, it kind of feels like this is just crazy. We had sideways price action. If you, let's say, from here to here, we had sideways price action for about 200 days. And then when you're in that sideways range for 200 days, people are like, this is so boring. People start leaving crypto. It's like, I'm never going back. This is just, I'm not going to be able to trade this market. And I mean, we're going to come sideways 200 days. And then this happens, right? And not only do we have a major drop to the downside, but we stay in this range for about 160 days. That's just insane. And then you look at this market back here, this bull market that we're currently in. Well, this is actually, it's rather similar, but I think the downtrend is more clear here. So I think we need to have like more sideways price action, more capitulation, but it's all speculation. So I think it's just much easier to is look at price levels and look at where we can get reclaimed for strength. And I think first we have 18K, 18, 19K, and then 25K for when we can, be certain that there's a high probability that the bull market is still on. Basically, you're asking the wrong person about predicting stuff, because I'm not in the game of predicting. I'm just following whatever the system gives me, right? Okay, so I think I'm done with the market update today. So basically, what we have is AD CHF is still open. Euro 80 is stopped out of entry. We're looking for a new trade on Euro 80. Looking for a new entry on AD CHF. Gold is still open, and I'm going to perhaps move stops up if TP3 gets hit. And I'm not like, yes, NCD CHF is interesting. We have that on our watch list, and if we do get an alert on NCD CHF, it might be worth taking a trade on this one. And then if we see clear rejection at the weekly open, we might want to close that one. And then we have I'm gonna try to keep it a bit easy here. GBP AD also interesting, but for the most part, with the Powell speech and everything, I'm gonna probably take it a bit easy today. Maybe enter something later today. All right, guys, I'm gonna have more updates for you guys in the community, in the trading room. So keep your eyes on the market update channel. I will update throughout the day if I have any interesting setups or ideas. And in the meantime, I'm gonna be a bit busy recording I'm actually going to be recording a small course for every RLZ Trading member. Surprise, surprise. I'm going to have like a series of videos describing the basics of how I'm trading in a basic way. It's not going to be like the trading program, but it's going to give at least every member of the trading room is going to be given an opportunity to because I want us to kind of like I want everyone in the trading room to understand how I'm trading, so you can easily understand the setups that I'm posting and my analysis, and try to get influenced and motivated to create something similar of your own. All right, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one, which will probably be same time as this one, but tomorrow. All right, take care.